What's up, everybody? It is Jared with Capture the Magic, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the best strategies at Epic Universe to try and ride all these attractions in one day or get the most things done in a day at this park. As we've been to this park 3 times now, so I've kind of figured out some ways here in which you can try and get the most things done and not really fight against the crowds more than you have to. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. The thing to keep in mind about Epic Universe, I think that makes it very different right now, is the fact that there's no park hopping. So without park hopping, you don't have an influx of people coming in typically midday that essentially will, keep the attendance in the park high or keep the park capacity up throughout the day in a fresh batch of new people that want to ride new attractions. So when you're talking about some of these really popular attractions like Battle at the Ministry or Monsters Unchained or, Super Nintendo World attractions, these are obviously attractions that people are going to do, a lot of them right off the bat in the morning. Now, your best bet when it comes to, Battle at the Ministry, not as much with Monsters Unchained, because Monsters Unchained is actually proving itself to be a pretty strong, solid ride in terms of it moves a lot of people through it. And even on busy days, you are seeing under an hour-long wait here, and many times seeing 20, 30-minute waits for this attraction. And that doesn't represent how good this ride is, but I think the fact that it moves that many people through it. So that one doesn't necessarily fall into that category with Battle at the Ministry, but I would say Mario Kart, Minecart Madness, like those attractions there, maybe even Hiccups Wing Gliders fall into that of these attractions are going to attract a lot of people, throughout the day. It's going to have higher wait times. But I would say if you want to ride Battle at the Ministry in particular, and that's a ride that a lot of people are going to want to ride, I would say don't rope drop it. And I say that because it's going to have a huge influx in the morning of people rope dropping it. But since you don't have park hopping, as the day goes along, the wait times are going to kind of dwindle, as what we've kind of already seen with this, and toward maybe the late afternoon or maybe even into the evening. Now, I don't think you want to wait too long to ride this, because if it goes down later in the day, then it may not reopen. So maybe looking at this ride sometime in the afternoon is not a bad time to maybe go about it, because a lot of times the wait times will drop a bit, and then you're able to ride it with a lesser wait time than you would have first thing in the morning. So that is an interesting thing, because most of the time you would say rope drop high demand attractions, lesser crowds, but I think kind of going where people aren't at Epic Universe as of right now, the fact that you don't have park hopping is a good strategy here. Now, when it comes to Super Nintendo World, I still hold that land is going to be the most popular land. More than likely, it's just going to be filled with people all the time. Every time we've been in there, it's always full, typically, except for opening day, weirdly enough. But outside of that, it's a very popular land. And the other caveat to that is if you are a Universal hotel guest, you have early park access an hour before everybody else in Super Nintendo World and Stardust Racers. Now, if you are a hotel guest, obviously take advantage of that. You can go ride Stardust Racers probably multiple times throughout the morning if you wanted to, as I think most people are going to go to Super Nintendo World. You could take advantage of that to go into Super Nintendo World, ride those attractions, and then move on to other areas of the park after that when everybody else comes into the park. So if you're staying at the Universal Hotel, you do have some options of what you can do there, and you are ahead of the general crowd that's going to come in after you have your hour early access. But when you're talking about if you're not a hotel guest, you're coming in, you're already at a disadvantage because you already have a lot of people in Super Nintendo World. So if you rope drop into Super Nintendo World, you're just already going to go into an already busy land and then be waiting a long time for those attractions in there. And at that point as well with Battle at the Ministry, a lot of people that will have early park access will probably kind of line up for Battle at the Ministry. I would assume start making a line or waiting in that area. So you're probably already at a disadvantage there. Now, knowing how this operates, you're probably going to be ahead of a lot of people going to Epic Universe that may just right away go right into Super Nintendo World, go right over to Battle at the Ministry, and, already going into very busy attractions. If you don't have early access, you're just coming in for the day, you're not staying on Universal property, I don't think rope dropping Super Nintendo World, and I don't think rope dropping Battle at the Ministry is going to be your best bet. I still think if you're coming in like that, Stardust Racers or Celestial Park is not a bad area there. You're going to have lower wait times, but I would think Dark Universe is a really good one to go do, given Monsters Unchained is a ride that moves a lot of people through it, and you very likely would see some lower wait times there first thing in the morning. So you could do most of the things in Dark Universe, and either after Dark Universe or before Dark Universe, go into Isle of Berk as well to hit that area. And then after that, and I think this is an interesting thing about Epic Universe, is sort of looking at the wait times and kind of going where people aren't, as we don't really have super established patterns yet of the best ways to navigate this park. Just, we can look at, say, more established parks, how to, people typically flow. We don't really have that quite yet. There are patterns there, but some of the days it's going to require looking at the app, seeing where the lower wait times are, and maybe just going off of that and taking advantage of that. But typically speaking, Battle at the Ministry being one, the headlining attraction, I would wait until later in the day to do that. In Super Nintendo World, I think is a very similar scenario. I think if you wait later in the day, you're going to see lesser crowds. You're not going to see zero crowds. I think those days are far behind us in terms of just walking onto most of these attractions. But I think that will give you the best chance to do the most things in this park and not spend too much time waiting in line. Because obviously you're going to be waiting in line at a theme park, and any theme park in a brand new park like this, but you don't want to wait more time than you need to. And I think when you're looking at Battle at the Ministry, that can get over 150-minute waits. I mean, we've seen 300-minute waits. I just don't think that's a good use of your time, just given you don't have the influx of park hoppers coming in. The ride times on that will likely dwindle down, and you can take advantage of lower wait times later in the day, but still get a lot of things done before you go ride that, and I think you'll be ahead of a lot of people. I think a lot of people get really frustrated that are rope dropping Battle at the Ministry. That's a really long queue, and if that goes down, like it did for us on opening day, then you're kind of left where you may have waited in line for a long time. Maybe you did ride it, maybe you didn't get to, and then you're already almost looking at the afternoon and you haven't got to ride anything. And that could be a very frustrating day. And then if it rains, some of the rides go down, and then people are left very frustrated. So it's totally understandable why they would look to do that, because traditionally speaking, rope dropping popular attractions is a good thing to do. But I think in this case, Epic Universe kind of goes against that trend at this point. And I think because of that, it kind of requires a little bit of a different mindset for this park right now. Now, once park hopping is introduced, like, this will be a little bit different, and there may be some other ways in which to do a lot of these things. But of course, if you have Express Pass, that does bypass a lot of this. Not all these rides take Express Pass, but if you do have that available, that is going to lessen your wait time quite a bit. But I just think in general for the park right now, having been 3 times, seeing kind of how the trends tend to go, I think that is the best way to go about doing the most things in this park. And it'll set you up to have a good time when going here. And obviously there's things that are going to happen with a brand new park. Some of these rides are going to go down. Obviously if it rains, a lot of these rides are going to go down. So there's some things that can be unpredictable about this. But one thing, when it does rain or ride goes down, if you look at the app, keep a close eye on it. Let's say Battle at the Ministry goes down, you can kind of keep an eye on that when it comes back open. If you're able to get over there very quickly, you can get in that line relatively quick and probably ride that, without much of a wait. So that is one thing about some of these rides when they do go down. If you do want to wait around them, if and when they reopen after a rainstorm or something like that, that may not be a bad opportunity to hop on some of these more, popular attractions in that way. So obviously we're still figuring out trends about this park, but I just want to make a video talking about that after being there, 3 times, kind of seeing how this kind of typically runs on a day-to-day basis. If you're looking at going, I think this could help you get more out of your day and not waste more time in line than you need to, and still get a lot of things done here. So that's just want to make a little update on that, as I've done a video previously after one of the previews talking about the best rope drop strategy, but I think it's kind of shifted a little bit after being in the park a few times now, seeing how people tend to gravitate towards certain attractions and certain lands. And I think knowing that, and just honestly just not having the park hopping aspect to this, kind of lets you know right off the bat that later in the day, some of these rides you're going to see half the wait time you are early in the morning. And, you can always enjoy some of the food and snacks and other activities in the park and take advantage of some of the shows. But as of right now, given where it is at, I think this is probably a good strategy to keep in mind, unless something happens and you just happen to come across a super low wait time on something, or you get lucky, or if you're willing to wait, really, really early for something. Like if you're going to be early park access and you wait in Battle at the Ministry for 2 hours before that ride opens, like that is something you could possibly do. But either way, you're still going to be waiting in line. So if you're willing to wait in line for that long for Battle at the Ministry, you could have maybe done some other things as well, and then rode it later in the day, and probably, still waited about the same amount of time. So it's just sort of one of those things. You kind of pick your battles of where you want to wait, how the crowds kind of tend to flow. Just want to make a video on that, updating kind of a good rope dropping strategy for those that are looking to go very soon and hopefully get more out of your day and enjoy this park and be able to ride everything you want to ride. So, but either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, do you think you should rope drop Battle at the Ministry, or do you think you should wait and ride it later in the day? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.